Welcome to the More Demand podcast, where we help you generate more demand for your products and services. Every episode we give you tips, tricks and tutorials on how to get the best out of your digital marketing. Less frustration, more demand. Here's your host Lawrence Howlett with this week's freshest tips.
Hello and welcome to the More Demand podcast, episode number 33. This week I have with me Laurence Bradford. I hope I got that right because she spelt the name just like mine, Lawrence, but it's not pronounced like that. So hopefully I've got it right. But Laurence is from Learn to Code with .me, Learn to Code with me. And she has set up this amazing resource for people that want to learn to code through her own personal journey as well, and as a result of that has built an incredible size mailing list, has loads of engagement on her blogs, in her Facebook pages, in her Facebook groups, and she is now ready to launch some killer products as well. And the great thing is, I know it's going to resonate with a lot of listeners out there because she is a solopreneur doing this thing on her own back, taking the big risk of taking the jump from the corporate world or the job beforehand into this part of her own journey. And she's also created a podcast as well, which I was happily to be on a guest on just a few weeks ago as well. So Laurence is going to take us through her entire journey from setting up this small website to growing it to what it is today and getting those first few subscribers, and now some of the tactics that she's using to really grow her mailing list, grow her authority and become an influencer in the coding space. So let's welcome Laurence onto the More Demand podcast. Hi Laurence, welcome to the More Demand podcast.
Hey Lawrence, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, two Lawrences with a little bit of a different saying and spelling today.
Yeah.
So I'm with a W, you're with a U, but we'll make sense of it somehow. So I wanted to really go through how you marketed Learn to Code with .me, which is a cool domain name, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually did not put much thought into the domain name, to be honest, when I first set up the site and registered it. But, 2 years later, I'm happy that I chose the name.
Yeah, no, it's definitely works. So I just wanted to walk through your digital marketing strategy and then how you actually, did it in terms of, launching your own website. So just give us a bit of background and introduce the idea of Learn to Code with me first.
Yeah, for sure. So I started the site, again, about 2 years ago, after I had been on and off teaching myself to code for a bit over a year. And at that point in time, I was really frustrated with the process because there's a lot of, I guess the best word really is a lot of frustration when you're teaching yourself how to code, and most people go through this. And really, it's kind of any new skill. It's not just coding, but I feel like when you're teaching yourself how to program, it can be really punctuated, like the frustration involved. So that led me to wanting to document my own process throughout, or as I was teaching myself how to code. And that's how the site initially began. Over time, it's evolved. And now, rather than documenting my own process, I put together resources to help people who are just starting out and just starting to teach themselves how to code. So that's kind of a backstory on the Learn to Code with Me site. And since starting it, a few other cool things have happened. For instance, I began writing for some other sites. So there's it's a Learn to Code platform. It's called Skill Crush, and I write for them now about once a month. I'm also the tech careers expert at about.com, and I write for a few other sites. So it's been an exciting journey so far.
Yeah, it's cool that you've got some writing gigs on the back of it, and we'll go through that sort of monetization thing a little bit later on. So how has creating Learn to Code with me, how's that made you feel? Because we always talk a lot about just the tactics and all that, but there are real people behind these businesses, and I always like to dive in and sort of get behind the scenes to see is it something that has made you feel successful or just made you feel fulfilled, or how's building that made you feel?
Yeah, overall, it definitely makes me feel fulfilled. But I have to say that there are good days and there are bad days. And I think, that's true, especially for business owners or really in any career, even if you're working full time, for someone else, I think that's the case, totally normal. So I'd have to say, yes, overall fulfilled, but there's definitely, it's not always, butterflies and rainbows.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, just talk to us through some of those, sort of struggles that you've had with launching it, and maybe you can, tell us a story when it was a real struggle. You just thought, how am I going to get across this, and specifically maybe with the marketing. What was one of the biggest challenges in that specific place?
Yeah, so I've been pretty fortunate in that from the beginning, I was able to connect with a lot of people. And I think that's just because really what the topic is. And a lot of people, especially over these past several years, have been teaching themselves how to code because there are there's a lot more career opportunities for people with digital skills. So it was kind of, in that sense, I had a lot of luck. Because early on, I was getting emails saying, oh, I found your site. I find it so helpful. I'm teaching myself how to code. I can totally relate to you. And that has been very encouraging, because even on those bad days, when I get an email like that from someone, it's really touching, and it's very... It makes everything a lot better, and that's not, there's no money or anything involved there, but it's definitely a good feeling.
Yeah, it's a good little boost.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as some of the struggles, one of mine, and I guess it all kind of ties in together, but it was monetization. So right now, the site is monetized, and it had been from the beginning, it just wasn't earning very much. And really the problem was me. It's not the industry, it's nothing like that. It's just, I didn't have this monetization mindset, and I kind of had to learn the hard way, I guess you could say. And I ended up finding myself in some credit card debt not too long ago. Because I kept, these expenses with the site and with other things kept adding up, and I wasn't making, enough money coming back in. And it kind of hit me, and I was like, you know what? I really need to start being more strategic about the monetization of the site. And ever since that sort of happened, things have been doing a lot better. So that was about a few months ago, when really the beginning of 2016, when all those things kind of came together, and I was like, oh man, this credit card bill is getting really high. I need to start doing something about it. And yeah, that's probably been one of the biggest struggles, I'd have to say, so far.
Okay, cool. So how did you go about solving that? So let's walk through your digital marketing plan, starting with the blogging element of Learn to Code with me, and just talk us through, how did you even know what to start writing about? Did you just write about your own experiences, or how did you pick topics?
Oh, so with topics, yeah, so early on I was writing about my own experiences, but then what ended up happening, I was getting a bunch of emails from people, so from subscribers and people who were coming to the site, and I noticed like a trend in a lot of questions that they were asking. So that's definitely helped me choose topics to write about. And then kind of on like the monetization side, I also began being more strategic with what I wrote in regards to monetization. So what I mean is picking topics that I have like partnerships with, so certain companies, and kind of revolving the blog post topic around that, so that it would help me then monetize my site, I guess, if that makes sense. So I feel like the best thing I could do is give you an example. So there's a post I wrote back in November, and the date now I think is from January, and it's called something like the top 15 web development courses you can take on Udemy, or something along those lines. So I kind of curated some of the best coding or web development specifically courses on Udemy. I had student reviews. I, added different information with each course. And then, it was all through affiliate links or partnership links, or whatever you want to call them. So then from that article, when people would click over to check out the courses, and if they decide to buy the course, I would earn, a percentage of the sale. And that article to this day is still earning me, money every month. And it's not really taking, I don't really do much to maintain that, so it's kind of, I guess you could say, passive income. But it took a lot of trial and error to find certain products and certain things that worked and could generate revenue in that way. And I'm still experimenting to see, what my audience likes and what my audience doesn't like as far as the products that I promote.
Okay, so at the moment it's you're just doing, an affiliate marketing, or is there another sort of monetization method that you've got?
Yeah, so the majority right now is through affiliate marketing or partnerships or whatever the word you'd like to use is.
JV partners, yeah.
Yeah. And I do have my own ebook. It's called the 5-Day LinkedIn Crash Course. And that I intentionally put at a really low price point because I wanted to have something that was accessible to a lot of people and, not a very high barrier to entry. And then I also have a course called Portfolio Dojo. And right now it's for sale as a pre-order. I initially launched that back in September, and I kind of opened it and then closed it right away. And it took me a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I'm finally getting to redoing the course. So I'm really just like scrapping it and rebuilding it from the ground up. And I plan on relaunching that at the end of this month, which is May 2016. And but yeah, right now I am doing pre-orders. So I have some pre-orders coming in, but compared to the earnings I make through affiliate marketing, it's a lot less. But I would like to do more products in the future and diversify the streams of revenue without a doubt, because I don't want to be reliant solely on affiliate marketing, because the thing is, especially if you're only working with a few programs, they can shut the program down at any time. You have no say over it. And then next thing you know, you're missing a huge chunk of the revenue that's coming in every month.
Yeah, sure. So the ebook, did you say LinkedIn Crash Course? Was that?
Oh, yes. So it's called the 5-Day LinkedIn Crash Course for New Techies.
Okay.
So it's specifically for people that are trying to transition careers into technology and want help like revamping their LinkedIn profile and making it more friendly to recruiters and hiring managers.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So again, you're thinking exactly in the right way in terms of a particular or specific buyer persona, that they're in this position, position A as I call it, and then they want to move to position B, and to do that, they've got to sort of present themselves and sell themselves. So that ebook helps them get from a specific place to another place that they want to be. So that's a really, really good way of creating those sort of resources and guides, definitely.
Yeah. And I believe so strongly in LinkedIn because I've personally had new opportunities come my way through the platform, and I've seen others, friends or coworkers or family who've been contacted by recruiters or contacted for really awesome opportunities. So I just really wanted to tell my audience, you have to be on LinkedIn, like, or even if you're on LinkedIn, you need to optimize your profile because so many people have these like incomplete profiles. So yeah, it was kind of like passion, but then at the same time trying to, solve a problem and getting people, as you said, from, point A to point B.
Yeah, definitely. And the LinkedIn stuff, guys that are listening out there, it's working really, really well. In fact, we're looking at launching a LinkedIn prospecting tool that I'm sure will keep people up to date with in future episodes. But at the moment, LinkedIn prospecting, I'm getting sort of 2 to 3 solidly good leads per week for my digital agency through LinkedIn. So it's working really, really well. So yeah, definitely look at that. Make sure that your profile is optimized, and there'll be some more resources to come up. But there is a resource on the More Demand podcast as well. You can hop back a few episodes to have a look at this system that I'm using on LinkedIn as well. So a little side note there. But back to Learn to Code with me, the podcast that you've just launched as well. And before the show we were chatting, you were noteworthy. So props for getting in that section. So talk to me about why you launched a podcast. How do you why did you go about that?
Okay, awesome. And awesome because all of this stuff is so fresh in my mind right now.
Yeah.
So the reason why I decided to create a podcast, well, there were several reasons. I had been blogging for the last 2 years on Learn to Code with me, and I'm very comfortable with writing. But that's all I do. That's when I say that that's like the only medium that I'm on, right? I don't really do videos. I didn't do audio before. So I wanted a challenge, and I also wanted to give existing readers the chance to consume content from me in a different way. So with video and with blogging, you can only consume that really sitting down. Like, you have to be fully engaged. Whereas with podcasting, you can be at the gym, walking the dog, doing laundry, and, listening while you do those things. And of course, I don't have to sell you, Lawrence, on podcasting. Obviously, we're doing a podcast interview right now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, podcasting definitely has a lot of benefits. And also, I thought it would be great, a great way for my existing audience to connect with me and really get to know me better, because it's much more personal than, reading a blog post. Now, the other side of the podcast was to get more exposure and to increase my audience size. So a lot of my website traffic right now and a lot of my new subscribers come from Google or guest posting. So I mentioned before, I write on several different sites, and that's definitely a great way that I'm getting people to learn about me and learn about the site and sign up for the get on the email list.
Yeah.
But I know I'm not touching everyone, and I'm not, there's definitely more people out there who maybe aren't using blogs. They like to listen to podcasts. So I just launched the show. It's only been out for about 10 days now, not even a full 2 weeks. But since starting it, I've had people find me on iTunes or other podcast directories just from searching Learn to Code. And I had one guy tell me, he searched for Learn to Code on iTunes. I showed up first, and that's how he found out about me and the podcast, and then, got on my email list and, sent me an email. So that's been super awesome. And that was definitely another goal of mine, was to get new people who I wasn't in front of yet to find out about me. So those were kind of the reasons for starting the show.
So you had a particular launch sequence, because I know I've got a show coming out on your podcast as well, and you had a particular launch sequence and a little bit of a different way of doing it. You're doing it in seasons. So talk us through why you took that approach.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of I don't want to call it a failure, but I tried something in the past. It wasn't a podcast. It was an advice column. And I thought it was going to be great. It didn't really work out. And I learned some lessons from that. And this was on the Learn to Code with Me site. And one of the lessons that I learned was, when I'm trying something new, I should probably kind of chunk it down and have it be smaller, rather than I'm going to do an advice column till who knows when. So when I was first decided I wanted to do a podcast, I was like, okay, listen, I'm going to do a season, season 1, only a certain amount of episodes, 10 to 15. I ended up having 15. So there's going to be 15 in season 1. And this way, I'm not committed to doing a weekly show. I can, do it season 1, see the feedback, see how I like it, see how everything goes. And then I can kind of decide maybe, halfway through or even 3/4 of the way through if I want to do a season 2, and if so, when, and take it from there. So already I've been putting together a list of names for season 2, because I've gotten pretty good feedback, and there's been people emailing me saying, oh, hey, you should really interview, so-and-so, I can connect you guys. So I want to start a list. But so what I'm saying is, there's definitely going to be a season 2. I'm not entirely sure when. I'm going to kind of see how things continue to play out the show. And if things keep doing well, it could definitely be sooner than I imagined, because now with the podcast, what a future goal of mine will be to get sponsors. So to have the show hopefully be monetized in some way. So some kind of sponsorships going on.
Oh, you pre-jumped in with my next question. So it was the dream for the podcast. What are you hoping to achieve from the podcast in the future? So some sponsorship deals, and you obviously want to sort of up your following and circle of influence, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not going to rule out a weekly show. I think I'd probably start the season 2 first and see how that went. But if things continue to go well, it's definitely an option that I could do a weekly show and kind of drop the whole season's format. Or maybe not, we'll have to see. But yeah, more immediate would definitely be getting sponsors. That would be awesome. And just continuing to grow my influence and get more exposure and
Cool. Okay. So have you seen any sort of direct impact from launching the podcast? I know it's early days. You've had a couple of emails. Have you seen any sort of spike on affiliate sales or anything like that?
I should have logged in and checked before we hopped on this interview, because yesterday, the podcast episode that I had go up, I do work with them. We're in a partnership program, and there was a special URL on their site for the listeners to go to and get some free resources and sign up for a free account. I haven't logged in yet to check to see like how that went.
Yeah.
But I just from observing like the tweets that I see people or the Facebook shares and the comments that I've been getting, or I shouldn't say comments, I'm sorry, the emails I've been getting directly from people. I think it's been going well. And the thing with podcasting though that I realized even a few weeks ago is that it's so hard to measure, because I don't know what you use, but I use Libsyn, which gives you some analytics. However, as far as iTunes goes, they don't tell you anything. So like I can't see how many subscribers I have, or no one can on iTunes. You can't see the actual number of plays. You can see downloads, but you can't see the number of plays. And anyway, there's a bunch of these limitations to the podcasting as far as analytics go. So it's kind of hard to know, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I don't know, this is a question if one of the John Lee Dumases or anyone is listening out there that has some ideas on how to get deeper analytics rather than just the number of plays or even just the number of downloads, I'd be very interested to know that, especially, with other platforms like, Udemy, for example. You can actually see how many people are watching the video, what point they get to in the video, and there's so many metrics that help you improve the videos that you produce. And if that existed for podcasts, I think that would be a great thing for us, because we could say, well, people are dropping off after 20 minutes, so I need to play some jingles or something to keep the interest.
Yeah, no, definitely. Or you could just see, a good show length. If you saw when people dropped off, maybe, you had hour-long shows. You see people drop off around time 45. You could, cut down the time to 45 minutes. And yeah, there's so much things you could do. But you're so right that so many platforms, Udemy is a good example. Wistia, I know that they do really great video analytics. And of course, with things like Google Analytics and other website like tracking tools, you could literally see where people are clicking, right? Like with heat maps and so on. So it's just kind of insane to me that there's this there's this mystery with the podcasting. But yeah. I guess in some ways it kind of makes it more, I'm trying to be positive, glass half full, which it makes it more fun and spontaneous, right? Yeah. I don't know.
I know Apple must have the data. They must have it. It's just a case of getting it out of them, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I was actually researching some stuff earlier today, and the number of active iTunes accounts, I believe, is 800 million, but that number was released in 2014. I was trying to find a number from 2016, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know, definitely. So some of going back to your marketing plan, I know you've also created a list of tools on your website, which I guess, some of those are affiliate links that go out to things like hosting, and I'm just taking a look on the tools page now. You've got everything in there from general learning, HTML, CSS, Ruby on Rails, all the places that you can go to learn. Was that an affiliate sort of play that you're just putting those all in one place?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of different people doing kind of like tools page, recommend tools page, and that's actually one of the pages I've had on my site like for the longest. I've had that on there almost from the beginning. I'm a huge fan of Pat Flynn, and that's something that he had on his site, and he still has on his site, if I'm not mistaken. So I sort of followed suit and did similar. And yes, as you said, a lot of those on there are affiliate links, not all of them though. And it's kind of just like my overall recommended tools. So not all relate to coding. Some are, what kind of equipment that I use or other kinds of services that I use that maybe aren't directly tied into coding, but it's just stuff that I like. So
yeah, you've got Dropbox on there, Evernote, all that sort of those sort of apps as well, productivity apps, and anything from Photoshop through to screen flowing and Canva's awesome, by the way. And I'm a Photoshop pro, but I love Canva.
yeah, it's funny because I need to, I still like Canva, but I used to be on there, even their business plan, I think, where because it was free initially, and then they have like the premium and the free plan. I was on their paid plan, but I stopped using it because I ended up finding someone to help me out with the design stuff. So, and she uses all the Adobe products, so it wasn't really necessary anymore. But I definitely still think Canva is awesome for people who aren't as design savvy because, they give you all these great templates and it's super easy to use. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, Canva's, even for those that have a load of design skills and don't have time, if you just want something that's quick, drag and drop, that's a 10% rather than a 10x, thing, just drop into Canva and create the graphics in there. But, okay, so with the tools, understand that, a sort of bit of an affiliate monetization play, and then you've got a whole list of free stuff that you give to subscribers if they sign up. So how does that work? What's the sort of average monthly subscriber count that you get from that free stuff sign up?
Ooh, I want to log in real quick because
Yeah, do it.
Side note, I transferred recently to ConvertKit from Aweber, which has been awesome. I really like ConvertKit.
Nathan Barry.
Yeah. And that to be completely honest, I kind of just made a decision last minute. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm kind of sick of Aweber because there's certain things I want to do that I can't do, like more advanced targeting and like segmenting and sending emails based off certain behaviors. So I made the switch, but it was definitely challenging to make the switch because of I just have so many different giveaways and lead magnets and so many forms on my site, and everything had to be changed. So it ended up being like a whole week project. But you know what? I'm really happy that I did it when I did because it's been awesome. So little side note there. And I'm actually not an affiliate for ConvertKit, but I would totally recommend it for anyone if they're thinking of switching or they need an email service provider.
Yeah, so, that's an interesting one. I'm just switching from Infusionsoft to Clickfunnels, so a different path, but I'm doing exactly the same as you. All the call to actions, all the sign up forms, all the lead boxes, everything is just going into Clickfunnels now. All the webinars, everything, and it is a month mission for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not an easy task, especially when you have things already so built up and in place, and these everything's already there. But yeah, I hear great things about ClickFunnels as well. So sorry, back to subscribers here. So I get about, let's see, they don't give. So today I had 54. So I'd say I probably average between 30 to maybe even up to 60 a day, I'd say on average new signups. But, of course there's highs and lows because sometimes I could guest post somewhere or usually it's guest posting that could then bring me a lot of traffic and I'll get, a whole lot of extra signups on that day. But yeah, that's about the average. And as far as the free stuff, so I have different, you could call them lead magnets, I suppose, different articles and pages on my site. The main one that has the most signups is the 10 learn to code tips. So it's just like a little several page PDF about 10 tips for learning how to code. But then I have more specific ones and even some that are more in depth. So for instance, and I just created this one, a blogging guide. So it's a longer PDF and it's just kind of going through like how to start a blog. And then I usually will include that on articles that are relevant to blogging. I also have I really have a bunch of these freebies. Some of them are just checklists. Some of them are longer. Some of them, are shorter. But I think I even have like 13 different ones in total. It's a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And that's your main way to build your email list. Currently, you're getting around sort of 30 to 60 a day. And are you doing any paid traffic to get that, or is that all organic?
Yeah, it's all organic. So I would like to do some more paid traffic. So what I just did recently, and I finished this not too long ago, a free portfolio course. So I think literally the URL is learn to code with me / free portfolio course. Um, and so that's actually like a video course. It's 6 videos and it's delivered over, a 6-day time period through email. But then, you click to the video and then you're brought to another landing page where you can watch the video. And what I would like to do for that is eventually do maybe some kind of advertising, probably on Facebook, to get people through the free course, because then at the end it leads into my paid course, Portfolio Dojo. But I just finished that and now I'm redoing Portfolio Dojo. So I think once I have all kind of those pieces together, I would like to start experimenting with that.
Yeah, definitely. And have a listen to Stacey Dennett's episode on the More Demand podcast, because it walks through a Facebook ad retargeting funnel that is would just be ideal for that. It's a method to not only get people back into those videos. So for example, if you do want to put out a 3-day VOS video learning series, getting people into that funnel is one thing, sending them the video via email is another, and then if they don't watch that video, you can actually set up a retargeted Facebook ad to try and get them back into that sequence again, because people might miss the email, it might drop into junk, or some things might happen, but that Facebook ad will just pop up and say, hey, you haven't watched video 2 yet, here's the link. So some really interesting methods to get people to complete that funnel.
That sounds great. I just wrote that down. Stacey Dennis, you said?
Dennett.
Dennett.
Yeah. Let me just have a look what episode number that is. I'll have a look at that while we're chatting in the background. But yeah. So organic traffic, getting 30 to 60 a day. That's pretty insane, to be fair. That's good. And would you do you think that most of that is because of the blogging that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. I have a few articles. I don't know the exact numbers. I used to be I used to go into Google Analytics a lot and spend a lot of time analyzing things. I actually sort of put that on pause for a bit because I found myself spending a little too much time analyzing the numbers, not as much executing. But this is definitely still true, because I do check, every so often the numbers on Google Analytics. But there's a few articles on my site that bring in a lot of traffic, probably 30% of my traffic is only going to a few articles. And that's because they rank really high on Google. And that's how I'm able really to get as many subscribers, I would say, just on a consistent basis. Because, yes, I guest post on other sites, but not all the time. Some months more than others. Some posts get picked up more than others. And, there's all these other factors. But with Google, and I'm knocking right now because I know Google can, change their algorithms and I can have my articles rank lower and da-da-da. But right now, about, oh goodness, 70 to 80% of my traffic every day comes from Google. So that's definitely where most of the people are coming from that then sign up to the email list.
And have you done, any particular campaigns around SEO, so search engine optimization? Have you built any backlinks, or has that just come naturally from people sharing the content because they've simply loved what you're writing about? Yeah,
so I've never actively did a link building campaign, so emailing different different places online, trying to have them link to something or an article of mine. I guess they mostly come naturally, or they're from also, over time I've made friends in the industry and, they also maybe have their own blog. So, they'll link to something or use something I did as an example and then, mention me and link back, which is, very, very nice. But yeah, so it's not active, but I do make my articles SEO friendly. Sometimes more than others. It depends on what I'm doing, because if I really want to write an article, and it's now I'm at a certain point where I know article topics that'll do well on Google and ones that maybe won't do as well. And if it's one that won't do as well, but I really think the information is important and I think my audience can value from it, can find value from it, I'm going to still write it, even if I don't think it'll do great on Google, as long as I think it could provide value to people. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great mindset to have, to always be adding value to your audience. I know we bang on about it quite a bit on the More Demand podcast, but that's exactly what we're doing here, adding value. It's a slower burn, but, it just makes sense to do that because people are going to trust you. And, that's the big thing. One of the little tips that I always give is use the headline checker on co-schedule.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic tool, and I just interviewed. Oh my word, I have forgotten his name. How bad! I just interviewed him yesterday as well from CoSchedule, and that was a really good interview. Garrett Moon, of course, and that episode's coming out or will have come out by the time this has gone out. But the headline checker. Is one of the tools that he's used to grow his audience, and actually the tools that they've created are bringing in more audience members and more sign-ups than their content now. So by making kits or by making tools that people can actually use is taking content to the next level, and that's a really interesting tactic, that definitely something that I'm going to explore as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would love to do that eventually. That's definitely on my list of things to do for the site one day. Those kinds of free tools. I love the headline checker. I use it all the time, and I always tell people. I tell people all the time to use it as well, especially people that do writing and whatnot, because it's super. Yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah, and I think, just by creating something like me and you are talking about it now, this is going to go out to the More Demand listeners. I had, Garrett on the podcast the other week, and just creating that tool has amplified their brand and their trust, because that's based on real data as well. I think they analysed over 1 million headlines to get that data. So it is unique to them. No one can copy it. It's a data-driven content piece, but it's also a huge lead magnet for them. So, a great way to do digital marketing. So where is the sort of the future for Learn to Code with Me? What plans do you have to take it to the next level before we wrap things up?
Yeah, so far in 2016, it's been pretty much like go, 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 go. My plans, honestly, after I'm done with this, finishing up this course and redoing it and getting some more, I want to have it be more automated. So doing things like, with optimizing the funnel and maybe even doing some of those retargeting ads for Facebook. I actually want to take some time off, I think, in the summer. And when I say off, I don't really mean like off. I just mean kind of reevaluating things, reassessing things, and my goals for the future with the site and just, with my career in general. I definitely see myself as of now continuing the podcast and continuing to put out content. However, as far as future products go and what's next, I think it could be a little different. I've actually been thinking about, and God forbid I say this, maybe even getting a full-time job at a bigger company to learn a bit from them. And when I say a full-time job, I mean something in the Learn to Code space or the online education space, and getting more of an insider look at a bigger company. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Well, good luck with all your projects and the launch of your online course as well. Wish you all well with that. And thank you very much for being on the More Demand podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me, Lawrence.
Yeah, no problem. Well, that's it for another episode of the More Demand podcast. We'll make sure to see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to the More Demand podcast. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on iTunes and get the latest episode direct to your device every Wednesday.